Hi, everyone. My name is Sasha Ritzie-Hernandez, and I'm running for Oakland School Board District 5. My pronouns are she and they, and there are many reasons why I'm running, but my love for education started very early on with my family and my parents, especially having to struggle to achieve a higher education and leaving their hometown of Guerrero to go to neighboring states for education. And they wanted to shift that in once they graduated and actually created the first middle school in the region where I grew up in a very small Afro-Indigenous community. My mom was I was a teacher for over 24 years, and that really inspired me. Um, she very much focused on bilingual education, which I didn't know that was going to help me a few years later when I migrated to the United States in 2002. And I was lucky enough to land here in Oakland. I've been a resident of District 5 for the last 20 years, and I am very proud to have lived here, actually a little over 20 years. Um, but I'm also a former OUSD student. I was an undocumented, on-house newcomer, and a English language learner here in OUSD. And I know that that's the lived experience of many of our schools, many of our students in our schools. We have, 32% English language learners here in our district, over 3,000 newcomers. We have almost 50% of our population speaking a language other than English at home. And unfortunately, we have over 2,000 students who are unhoused. And so the lived experience, I feel like, is one of the reasons why I want to be able to represent our community because I identify very deeply with those challenges. Like many of our students here in Oakland, I've had to become my parents' interpreter and advocate to be able to navigate the new education system that they just had to learn and navigate. And so I was lucky enough to be able to have a very supportive family. But during my time at Oakland, I attended schools like Freak, Roosevelt, Oakland High. I also my very first school that I attended was Havens Court Middle School. And after that, I graduated from Laney College. I was lucky enough to be able to also get a higher education through Holy Names University, which was the university my mom used to clean when we first arrived to the United States. So graduating with honors from that university was a big accomplishment, and a thank you to my mother. Unfortunately, that school closed, and I couldn't finish my master's degree in education like I planned, leaving Oakland with a really big gap. So school closures to me are a very important issue because I want to make sure that we continue to have quality education. Over my years here in Oakland, I've always been an advocate given my circumstances from working as an assistant program for Oakland Leaf, where I started to see that we needed to protect education. I got the opportunity to work for the racial voters to engage people in the elections of 2014. That's where I developed my skills as an interpreter and as a translator. Um, and I continue to work closely with them as they are as part of the advisory committee for the Spanish language. I also have robust experience in working with community, specifically families, through the Bay Area Parent Leadership Action Network, where I worked developing the leadership of families for a long time. We supported strikes and other movements of our school, of our educators, leading campaigns like Keep Our Kids Safe, reparations for Black students, and just workshops on how to support students at home and on the go. I had the pleasure of working in many schools here in Oakland, from Madison Park, Esperanza. I also work at Reach Academy and Oakland High School. At Oakland High School, I actually am a former SSC member when I had my niece under my care for a period of time. So I became very involved in that school. And right now, I still very active in our Oakland community. I am actually the vice president of the SSC at International Community School. Much proud on that. Um, Another highlight of the reasons why I want to do this work is because I have experience in coalition building. Building strong partnerships for quality education is one of the things that I love the most. And right now, I also have the pleasure of serving as the executive director for Somos Familia, that focuses specifically in creating welcoming environments for the LGBTQ community and their families. I am also very excited because this gives me the opportunity to focus on mental health support for students. And I also recognized that our campaign really resonated with the community last year. I actually received the 2023 Barbara Lee Beacon of Hope Award through the Latina Young Dems and the Young Democratic Club here in Oakland. So those are some of the things that make me excited to be part of this race.
Thank you. Hillary has the next question for you.
As a board member, how will you improve academic outcomes for students?
One of the things that you will see me say a lot in this race is going to be to ensure that our budget really reflects the needs and the priorities of our community. We want to ensure that our students have relevant curriculum. We want to make sure that our students have books that really reflect the diversity in their stories. I was privileged enough that in the last campaign I visited several schools, and that was a challenge for many of our teachers. I also had the opportunity to survey students as I was doing my rounds and asking them what were some of the things that they felt like we should invest in. And the students and teachers alike shared that we need to increase a budget for our teachers to be able to beautify their schools, to be able to beautify their classrooms. It shouldn't have to come from their own pockets. We definitely need to increase family engagement. As a family engagement specialist, I know that if we increase the participation of families, we will have positive behavior. We're going to create improvements in educational achievement that can increase attendance. And obviously, we want our students to be in the classroom. That's the first step to learning, as well as recognizing that family engagement helps with better grades as well as test scores. So engaging our families is going to be key. Um, I also think that one of the things that we need to do as a district to make sure that we implement fully policies that we haven't completely honored, like the full implementation of the liberated ethnic studies curriculum, making sure that we have a full implementation, that our students are learning their history, that thing that the things that they're learning are transferable to real life, to their experience. That's going to be really key. Continue to advocate for the reparations of Black students that touches specifically on special education and investment in our students who are vulnerable right now. Also, I think it's important for us to work together with community to create robust policies that focus on special education to highlight the beauty of diversity of our students, and also some very strong plans and policies that support our English language learners.
Thank you. What is your personal history with labor unions? And as a board member, how will you engage with union contract negotiations and with work actions such as strikes?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm very lucky that I grew up in a union family. I grew up with a mother who was a member of the biggest teachers union in the Western Hemisphere. She was a teacher for over 24 years. So in my household, education and organizing and rallying and being behind the teachers was an everyday thing. I was very lucky that my mom invited me to these rallies very early on. And I have for since my arrival to Oakland, I've always been in support personally and professionally with the strikes conducted by OEA. And I'm very proud to say that I have been, in a lot of the times I was in the background, but I was supporting families and developing their leadership to speak to these challenges, to speak to the issues, to stand up for our teachers. I've never crossed a picket line, and I plan to keep it that way. That is my commitment to the labor movement. Because my wife is also a union member right now. So we are a proud union family. She's part of the Communication Workers of America, the Guild. So that's also very exciting. One of the things that I am committed to is just be accessible during negotiations. My commitment is always going to be to address the needs of our students and educators. Um, it's going to be very important for us to assess the needs that are happening in the classroom. And I think that that is where we're landing as far as like the negotiation with OEA. I genuinely recognize and give props to our educators who are not just highlighting better pay and better working conditions, but that are working tirelessly to ensure that we address other needs like mental health to the common good and the full implementations of the reparations for Black students. So I will always be in support of addressing those needs and ensuring that our teachers are well paid. We have a challenge in retaining our teachers. So it is in our best interest to have a strong relationship with the union to ensure that we are training, retaining quality educators. Thank you.
What role should unions play in creating district policy? As a board member, how would you maintain a collaborative relationship with OEA and other unions?
One of the things that I feel is very important as far as collaborations for policy is recognizing the expertise and feedback of our teachers. We got to recognize that nobody really knows what's going on in the classroom as much as our teachers. So as a board member, I've committed myself to ensure that those voices, that expertise is taken into account, that we engage in a way that is inclusive, that is collaborative, and that all perspectives are valued. That to me is very important. Regular communication is going to be key, which is something that I'm really excited about. There's always been transparent and two-way communication with OEA, even in last campaign, and I will love to continue with that partnership. And then one of the things that I feel like it's going to be very important as far as like my commitment to unions in the grand scheme of things is just making sure that we always talk about the shared goals. There's a lot of challenges around getting on the same page and seeing a common ground. And the common ground here is that we want our students to thrive. And what we need to do is to work together. As far as other unions are concerned, I'm really excited that last year I learned so much about our trade unions and how much they bring to our community. And I would love to create a space for our students to see themselves as a potential member of the building trades, for instance. Like if we have the Army recruiting our students, we should have more opportunities for labor unions to also recruit our students and give these opportunities and ensure that that labor stays here at home and that we are building the economy of Oakland and that our students are ready to leave our schools, whether it's going to be for college or a career or going into the trades. We would like to see our students have more opportunities. And I feel like working with unions can give us those opportunities that our students are seeking. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next question is a long one. Will you commit to rejecting donations, endorsements, and support from privatization-linked organizations such as Families in Action and the California Charter School Association, for-profit corporate entities, police or prison unions, or Israeli lobbying groups? And also, will you publicly request that any of these groups cease campaign activities like mailers or canvassing, et cetera, on your behalf?
The short answer is absolutely. During the 2023 campaign, we were very competitive and it was a grassroots campaign. And that is something that I'm very proud of. We raised nearly $20,000 from literally community organizations that are working towards district rent schools. And we were so close. We lost by 7%. To know that we didn't have that kind of money, but we were able to get so close by knocking on doors and genuinely engaging with the community in real time and being genuine and being of integrity. I feel like that resonated with our community. Um, I'm very intentional about the money that I would like to receive for my campaign. I've also always been super transparent, submitting my documentation on time for the community to understand, to be transparent. I also want to just mention a couple of things that were really big last year that I feel like the public doesn't really know. And that is that my parents are very important to me and they're watching and they know that I have to hold myself to a certain level of integrity and values. Unfortunately, because of the lack of investment in reparations for Black students, my wife lost her job last year. And with the campaign, given that there was so much money poured against me, I decided I was pushed to take time off from work. And that impacted our family deeply, but I owe it to them and their sacrifice to continue the fight, to continue with my ideals, to stay true to who I am. And even though we had limited resources, I want to make sure that those resources are coming from the community and that we're utilizing. We're very crafty people. We didn't have mailers that were controlled by the campaign last year. It was literally door knocking all the time. I was out every day, and the opposition had a lot of money to be able to send out those mailers. Unfortunately, we were harassed and threatened by pro charter organizations, and we had a mailer that was discrediting me in front of the Oakland community, which had a huge impact even in job opportunities. But we are not going to let privatizers, we're not going to let money make us fearful, because that's exactly what the opposition wants, is for us to run away. But we will continue to make those sacrifices for Oakland. We will continue to work together and encourage other people to really join us, because we have a big fight ahead of us. Thank you.
If you are responsible for hiring a new superintendent, what qualities would you look for in candidates? What should the relationship be between the board and the superintendent?
I feel like we definitely need someone who is going to be able to collaborate, not only just with administrators or the board, but someone who generally is able to see the teachers, the educators, unions, the community, students, that actually has a collaborative approach of having everyone be at be part of the shared decision making process. Now, one of the things that I was excited about a really long time ago when I was at Oakland School student is that there used to be a graph that showed how the leadership of OUSD, and in the top it was community, and then the board, and then the superintendent. And I really would like for someone to come in who has that approach of serving the community, that someone who is culturally competent, because Oakland is changing. Oakland has diversity, but we also deserve someone who is going to honor and support that diversity. We definitely need someone with financial expertise, because we want to make sure that our budget, again, reflects our priorities, but we're using our money effectively and efficiently, because we don't want to fall short again in money like we did a couple of months ago with some of the budget adjustments. But someone who is accountable to the community and has integrity, a really strong sense of community, um, and someone who has a real experience with family and community engagement, because it's very important for a leader to be accountable to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you commit to voting against any school or special education program closures? And other than closures, what are some specific ways that you can respond to possible funding shortfalls in the budget?
Absolutely. Just like I mentioned, I have two experiences of school closures that happened directly to schools that I attended. So I know the impact that it has on students in the community and just the morale. And just right now, even people already questioning on whether or not we're going to have another round of school closures, it just creates so much anxiety. And one of the things that I'm always going to be open to is the idea of creating robust assessments that really let us know what impact we're having by closing these schools and destroying these communities, essentially, because a lot of our families rely on these communities for healthcare, sometimes for mental health, to drop off their children close by. We want to make sure that we are taking all of that into account. As far as the budgeting, I'm always going to lean to my organizing side and say we need to advocate, we need to lobby. We had cuts coming from the Alameda County directly related to mental health, but we need to continue to ask them to stop the cuts. And if we have to go to Sacramento, then that's what we're going to have to do. Another thing that is going to be very important is for us to seek grants. Local, state, federal grants will be really key for us, that are very specific to the work that we're doing. That's why it's so important for us to highlight the work that we're doing, so that people who may be interested in the work can invest in it. Um, the coalition building is going to be key. Networking, meeting other districts, understand how other districts manage their money, because there's districts with a similar size that have less off people in certain offices. So recognizing that we need to do some research about what is happening in other districts and how we can also learn from best practices. There's going to be a huge, on my end, as a candidate, one of the focuses, the emphasis is going to be enrollment and attendance. Just like I said, when we have families who are involved in school, we see higher attendance. We are seeing Oakland get so creative about how we are engaging our families. So I saw some signs at our laundromat. I'm seeing teachers going outside and talking to the community to enroll their children. I want to be a part of that, and I have been in District 5 just recently, and I want to continue to do that fight. One of my deepest concerns are charter schools that unfortunately take some of the funding from our district run schools. We have over 12,000 students in charter school. My hope is that we can bring them back, that we can rebuild that trust, and it's particularly a matter of important matter for me because my district holds the most charter schools throughout the district, with 10 of them here. So it's particularly important for me to work with the community to ensure that we have a strong family driven plan for our families to come back, for our students to come back to the district.
What do you believe the future should look like for charter schools in Oakland? Specifically, what are your thoughts on extending property leases, sharing space on OU campuses through Prop 39, and transitioning charter schools to district-run schools?
Yeah, I'm deeply concerned about just the sharing of space, because there's always this animosity between charters and public schools that has been like some of the sentiment that I was able to see as I was campaigning that last year and continue to visit schools. That is something that is a big concern for me. So my real hope is that we can rebuild the trust with our community. I am hearing from families, it's like, we left because we heard that these schools will be better, and so I'm my family was one of those families who fell victim to this misinformation. And so I understand where our families are coming from. And so sometimes it's just about dialogue, it's about talking, it's about creating community and recognizing that if all charter schools close, the students can come here. But if our schools close, unfortunately, not all students will be accepted into charter schools. And that's just a reality, because they are able to pick and choose who enters their school system, where we don't. We serve all students, and we're happy to do that. Um, I also, like I said, I really support a strong plan that is family driven, that is community driven, to come to have our charter schools transition into district run schools. And the misinformation, I heard a lot of misinformation in my campaign trails in talking to families, especially members of Families in Action. They shared that they didn't know, not just members, but also students shared that they didn't know that they have their own appointed board members. And so that the oversight that the Oakland School Board has is very limited. So I think letting families know the reality of what it is like to, the differences between a charter school and a public school is going to be very important. And I feel like, again, as an organizer, I will put my hat on and say, we need to build a campaign to really inform our families of the impact that the charter schools are having in privatizing education in Oakland.
Thank you, Sasha. And your last question is just an opportunity to add any closing remarks if you'd like.
I am just really excited for this opportunity to run for Oakland School Board once more. I am so eager. I am dedicated. This campaign is just going to be a lot different from the last one, because there were a lot of lessons that were learned. This is a bigger opportunity this time to take this win. And for someone who did a grassroots, we put up a really good fight for the limited funding that we had. So the one thing that I want to tell the community is I am excited to continue to build with the community, to continue to be accessible to the community, to partner with our educators, to partner with our unions, to really create a community that has this shared goal of seeing our students thrive. Um, and just, I hope to continue to have the support of the teachers union. That has, that has a huge impact in our campaign. And just continue to do collaborative work with you all. Just really excited. Thank you.